Hey everyone, it's Carter King. If you're an educator, a leader, or just a parent who wants to teach kids about space, check out my newest book, Carter's Journey Through Space. It's available now on Amazon, Target, and bookstores everywhere. Come explore the universe with me.
Welcome to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle King, and the goal of this podcast is simple: to help you create environments where people thrive. Through real conversations, practical strategies, and powerful stories, we equip leaders, educators, and change makers just like yourself to build cultures rooted in purpose, performance, and authenticity. Because culture isn't something you talk about, it's something you live. This is the Contagious Culture Podcast. Let's get started. In 1973, the author, poet, and human rights activist Maya Angelou, raise your hand if you know who this amazing woman was asked a simple question in an interview. She was asked, if you had a daughter who was 10 years old, what would you teach her about growing up in this society? And it was a very powerful question, but if you know anything about Maya Angelou, her response was bold, was confident, and she answered it with a smile on her face. And she said simply that you may encounter many defeats, but you must never be defeated. In fact, it may be necessary to encounter the defeats, to go over it, to get all the way through it, and to go on. And when I first heard these words, it wasn't in like a documentary. If I'm being fully transparent, it was on a YouTube short because I can find myself getting super distracted and just scrolling, but it stopped me. And I watched it a few times, and it stopped me because she's describing something that every single one of us already knows, that life is going to hand us defeats. And that's not the question. The question is, when life hands us defeats, people, what do we do with them? So before we go any further, again, if you have your cameras on, great. If you don't, it's going to be one of those trust exercises. I want you to do something with me. I want to just see your hands really quickly. And I want you to raise your hand if you've experienced any of these things: a setback, a disappointment, a difficult manager, a layoff, a restructuring, let's say a project that failed, or even a season where things just didn't seem like they went in your favor. And I want you to just keep your hands up because we want to celebrate you also, because what this shows is that you're still here. You're still here. You're still standing. So we can put our hands down really quickly. I'm not going to be that guy that just keeps, putting your hands up the whole time. I don't know much about everyone on this call. I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of you in person or at different events at the Arlington office. But the one thing that I do know about every single person here is that you have won every single battle that you've ever faced. Every single battle. Maybe not the way that you wanted. Maybe not without scars. Maybe not without frustration. Maybe not without loss of relationships. Maybe there was a shedding that had to happen throughout your life at some point. Maybe not without anything that was discomfort, but you're still standing. And I know in many of the organizations that I have the privilege of speaking with, we're all navigating a lot. There's a lot of change. There's a lot of new technology. There's a lot of new ways of working. There's demands that I feel like ask more of us than they did a year ago. There's much more work. I just feel like over time, it's less time, and there's more responsibilities that are on our plates. And with many of the layoffs that are happening around the world, there's less people to do more work in shorter periods of time. Is that like somebody's story? Is that somebody's testimony on here? At least one person. But here's what I've learned. The people who grow the most within organizations are not the people with the easiest conditions. They're not. And when we even think about a lot of the founding stories of some of the greatest organizations, even Amazon, they weren't built in some of the easiest conditions. They're the ones who maximize the conditions that were thrown in front of them. And through it all the change, all the noise, all of the tragedy, all of the teams that are shortening or shrinking, you're still here. So I want to land and I want us to really set the atmosphere and write down just simply on your paper in front of us. And I know oftentimes on virtual calls, we're distracted by our phones, our emails, other calls at times, but I want us to just take a few seconds and just write down 4 words on our sheets of paper or on a notepad in front of us, because I always say this to an audience that money makers are note takers. So 4 words: I am still standing. I just want you to write it down really quickly for me. I am still standing. Hey, it's Kyle. Sorry to interrupt your programming, but I got a quick culture check for you. How's your team's energy right now? I mean, literally, right now. Are people feeling inspired? Or are they just showing up? See, here's the truth. Culture doesn't change because we talk about it. It changes because we live it actively every single day. And that's what I help organizations do. Build contagious cultures that people actually want to be a part of. Through keynote talks, interactive trainings, and hands-on consulting, I help leaders transform the way their teams connect, perform, and grow. So if your culture needs a little bit of spark, let's light it up together. Visit theculturelab.org, again, theculturelab.org, or connect with me directly on LinkedIn at Kyle S. King to learn more about how we can work together. Because remember, your culture is contagious. Make it worth catching. Now let's get back to the program. I want you to hold it up. And this is a reminder for all of us when we are going through it, when times feel heavy, when we need an encouragement, when we need a moment. Thank you, McGee. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Is it Michelle? Hopefully I got that right, Miss Wu. I need you to remain. All right, cool. I need you to remain grounded in this statement. Every single paper in this room belongs to someone who's been through something and made it. And I want you to keep that paper, because there will be a day, maybe even soon, maybe even after this call, when things get heavy. And on that day, I need us to be the people that find it and that remind a team member, but first remind ourselves that, look, we're going to get through it. And the challenge is that, I'll be very, very honest with you, it's very challenging to even recognize what you've already survived. And it's not a small thing. And for a lot of us, that belief and that thought and that perspective is very new. It took me a while to recognize that, hey, like, you've really gotten through a lot of things, because when we're going through it, when we're going through that process, when we're going through that layoff, when we're going through that transition, when we're going through that season that doesn't necessarily feel comfortable for us, it doesn't necessarily feel like we're standing. It feels like we're just kind of dragging along and trying to make it through the next season. But what I want you to know is that before we can really change an organizational structure, before we can impact and empower our culture, before we can adopt a new philosophy, we have to first shift as people. Because I believe that how we show up every single day, our perspective, how we show up in these spaces, in these rooms, in our conversations, in our interactions, that is everything. That is everything. And when I first started teaching many moons ago, this was after I already had built a career. So I had published 7 books. I had built and got a company acquired. I had transitioned and built another organization. I was speaking on stages and all of these different things. And I walked in on day one of a classroom because I really believe that I was gifted in teaching, and I wanted to just give back. I have a love for students, and I loved teaching so much. And I walked in with a lot of controversy, different strategies than mine, different systems than I would have wanted, different processes, things that necessarily didn't change or didn't bend because of my own resume. And oftentimes we come into these spaces with a lot of accolades, with a lot of beliefs, with a lot of perspectives. We may transition from teams, and we want to maybe do it in the way that we want to do it, rather than doing it in the way that the organization is calling us to be able to do it. And what this did for me is it humbled me. It forced me to do a lot of internal processing. It forced me to not just fix the school or fix my students, but to understand, how can I develop myself and be better within myself so that I can actually connect with my students in an intentional way, so that I could build relationships, so that I can learn this curriculum. I can identify these processes, because I don't believe that you can empower something that you truly don't understand. And what happened a year later, and then 2 years, and then 3 years later, is that I was nominated for Teacher of the Year. Those same students that were reading at a second grade level in the 8th grade grew exponentially. Some of these students now are going to high school and in college, and really being able to see what these students have been able to accomplish, these young men and women, and who they are now, it really touched me. And every single person on this call, yes, we're not in education, we're in organizations, but you have the power and you have the influence to be able to be that for your customer. You have the opportunity to be that for your team members. You have the opportunity to be that for your organization on a day-to-day basis, but it starts with one thing, and that's belief. When I came into that classroom and I recognized that I had students that their parents had passed away the week before of a drug overdose, or a young lady, 13 years old, that was pregnant with her second child coming to my classroom, I recognized that my two-parent suburban lifestyle was not going to be able to relate here. This was not my story. So how could I really be able to connect? How could I really be able to understand and build relationships where my story, my background, and my own belief system may have been completely different? And that's what I believe one of my books is called Contagious Culture. That's what it's all about. Being willing to understand and listen intentionally, and being able to take yourself completely out of the equation so that you can see the heart, you can see the voice, and you could really be able to value someone from their perspective, understand their story, so that when we show up on a day-to-day basis, we can represent that story in our work on a day-to-day basis. And again, like I said earlier, better people change institutions. And it required me to be better, to be humble, to be more intentional, to be more empathetic, and more in tune with how I showed up on a day-to-day basis. Because look, it wasn't about a title. It was about the inner work first. And it's hard, and it takes everything that you have. And anybody on here that is working on something, either professionally or personally, how many of us, by a raise of hands, knows that I feel like work, professional or personal development, is a battlefield? How many of us, just by a raise of hands, knows that it takes time to really be able to change how you're perceiving something, how you want something, et cetera, et cetera? And we don't really show it, this battlefield, with swords or with shields. We show up with our own decisions. We show it with our distractions. We show it with one word, which is going to be the throughway for this conversation that we're going to be able to have today, with our character. And that, in my opinion, is the only armor that we have to carry into the fight that actually matters. And every day, whether we realize it or not, whether we want to believe it or not, the people around us are asking 3 questions. And I want y'all to write these questions down really quickly.
Hey, it's Kyle. Sorry to interrupt your programming, but I got a quick culture check for you. How's your team's energy right now? I mean, literally, right now. Are people feeling inspired? Or are they just showing up? See, here's the truth. Culture doesn't change because we talk about it. It changes because we live it actively every single day. And that's what I help organizations do. Build contagious cultures that people actually want to be a part of. Through keynote talks, interactive trainings, and hands-on consulting, I help leaders transform the way their teams connect, perform, and grow. So if your culture needs a little bit of spark, let's light it up together. Visit theculturelab.org, again, theculturelab.org, or connect with me directly on LinkedIn at Kyle S. King to learn more about how we can work together. Because remember, your culture is contagious. Make it worth catching. Now let's get back to the program.
Are you someone I can count on? That's number 1. Are you someone I can count on? And I want, next to that question, I just, and you could do it privately, I want you to put a yes or a no. And this is like, again, an integrity exercise. If you are someone that you can count on, And then question number two, are you someone that I can trust? And I'm going to add another word to that, trust fully. Because one of the beliefs that I believe is how you do anything is how you do everything. If you are untrustworthy in relationships, I can almost guarantee that you probably doing shady stuff at work. I'm just going to be honest. This is one of those honest conversations. If you are, you hide information or you move in secret, I can almost guarantee that you don't show up as authentic as you probably should in work environments. Question number 3. Are you someone I can follow? Are you someone I can follow? And I believe that is probably the most powerful question on this list, because what happens is if you're not someone that I can count on, and if you're not someone that I can trust, then most likely those two questions added together, you're not probably going to be the person that someone can follow. And I'm not sure what everyone is, what level, what title anyone is on this call. But for my leaders in the room, are you the person that people want and feel encouraged and motivated and inspired to follow? Are you that person that they can trust? Are you that person that they can count on to show up for them in rooms and in spaces, even when they're not in the room? And I feel like these 3 questions are very hard. But in this conversation, I want us to be reflective, or even after this conversation, how can we build a reputation or a brand, like my mother likes to say, where those 3 answers are always yes, yes, and yes. And those 3 questions make me think about a movie that I grew up watching. Fun fact about me, I literally could recite the first 60 minutes of this movie. I was a very strange child growing up, and that's okay. And the movie was Troy with Brad Pitt. And there's a scene that always just is so powerful to me, and I really felt like it was necessary to be able to share this scene.
Hey everyone, it's Carter King. If you're an educator, a leader, or just a parent who wants to teach kids about space, check out my newest book, Carter's Journey Through Space. It's available now on Amazon, Target, and bookstores everywhere. Come explore the universe with me.
So the scene was when Achilles and his warriors were getting ready to storm the beach of Troy. And if you haven't seen it, you could literally just type storm the beach scene Troy on YouTube, and you could be able to create the visual for this scene that I'm talking about. Now, I want to just paint the picture here, and I want to land here for a second. In this scene, Achilles, one of the greatest warriors believed of all time, was getting ready to take the beach of Troy with 50 men. Mind you, as the shot is being shot in the movie, you see on the beach as they're preparing for the whole Greek army to show up on the beach. There's arrows that have fire. Their army is coming down, and Achilles' ship with his mermaids are getting ready to storm the beach of Troy. And I remember there was a scene where the king of Greece, I can't remember his name, Agamemnon, I believe, he asked his fellow comrade on the ship, he's getting ready to storm the whole beach with 50 men. But still, in that scene, what was so powerful is the speech that Achilles gave. He said, "Mermenids, my brothers of the sword, I'd rather fight beside you than any army of thousands. Do you know how menacing we are? We are lions. Do you know what's there, waiting beyond that beach? Immortality, take it, it's yours." And then they're beating their chests and they're screaming, they're yelling. He puts on his sword, he turns around, the scene shots, he jumps off the ship first. The arrows are flying, fire arrows, all of these things, and his men follow him without hesitation. They follow him straight into a scene that is impossible. Not because of his rank, not because of his title, not because he ordered them to, but because of who he was, what he represented, because they trusted him, because he was someone that they could follow, because they would follow him anywhere, even if that anywhere meant their own death and demise. So here's my question for you. And I want this question to really be something that you reflect on, maybe now or even in your own leadership. Are you the kind of person others would storm the beach with? Are you the type of leader that others would storm the beach with? Are you the type of team member that others would storm the beach with? Do you have the character, the attitude, the perspective, the mindset that others would storm the beach with? Because you're answering, whether you know it or not, you're answering this question already. Not with your title, not with your character but in every single room that you show up with. You're answering it right now on how engaged you are on this call. You're answering in how you showed up to work this morning. You're answering in your responsiveness to emails. You're answering it in the ability to really listen to the customer calls, take great information, and be able to dissect it so that you can create better experience. You are answering that in every single action, decision, and perspective that you share with your team. When I was an athlete, I had the privilege of running the 200 and 400 at Alabama A&M University, where I went to school. But when I ran track, I had this conversation with my coach, Coach Seals at the time. And she always mentioned that there's two races that are happening every single time on the track. And I was like, what do you mean? She said, it's the one that everybody sees and the one that no one sees. The one that everybody sees is the medals, is the gun, is the race, is the uniforms and the crowd and the excitement and all of those different things. That's the one, she said, that most people show up for. And then there's another one, the one that nobody sees. That's the thousands of miles that I had to run before my first meet. That's the 5 a.m. mornings running up hills in Alabama, in Normal, Alabama, when other students were still sleeping. That was the days where I had to literally huddle in an ice bath with 2 or 3 of my other teammates and sit in there for 15 minutes. That was the injuries. That was the recovery. That was all of the moments that happened behind the scenes. So there was a time, my first meet at the Alabama Relays, and I was sitting with her, and I just asked her a question. I was like, Coach, how do you know essentially who's going to win? Do you know or do you not know? And she said, Kyle, simply, she said, the race is over before race day. Race day just reveals who's prepared. And at the time, I never really understood as a college student really what she meant. You know, it was kind of like one of those Mr. Miyagi moments where I felt like can you just give me a direct answer? Like, I feel like these, I don't need all that right now. It's like, it's race day. I needed something more encouraging, more motivating so that I can get out there and do my thing. And what it revealed to me is that, my first meet, I was not prepared because I went out there and got thrashed and recognized that all of that confidence and all of that arrogance and bravado and beautiful spikes that I had on, there was other people that were in the gym. And I remember still to this day, the feeling that it felt to not be prepared for the moment. And what I want us to understand in this moment and why I share that story is that the promotion reveals who's prepared. The challenge that you experience on your team reveals who's prepared. The opportunity that is either in front of you when it finally comes simply reveals who's really getting ready in the dark. Because one of the things that someone asked me when I had the opportunity to interview my mom at her book signing in Arlington a few months ago, after was like, hey, what do you do to be able to speak in the way that you speak? And then I gave them a few pointers, but the reality of it is that 10 years of speaking, 6 of which there was no payment at all. It was showing up, practicing, doing the work, showing up. And my question for you in that moment is, how are you showing up when there's not a payment attached to it? How are you showing up when there's not a bonus attached to it? When there's not an accolade or an award attached to it? Because for a long stretch of my life, I believed that I was prepared professionally in all ways. I believe that I've always worked hard. Yes, I've got distracted, but it's just human nature. Yes, I believe that I've always had talent. Like most of us, all of us on this room have some form of a talent. Yes, I believe that I had the ability to always find opportunities or be in relationships or rooms where there was opportunities created. And I believe that I was almost ready for anything. But one of the things that I recognized that I wasn't ready for and that I lacked that actually sustains preparation is one word. And I want you to write this down and I want you to circle it. And it was the word that I mentioned earlier that I said is the through way for this whole conversation: character. I lacked the character to carry it. And I learned this the hard way, more than once in many seasons. But again, like I mentioned earlier, I went to Alabama A&M University. I had the privilege of being the first to graduate college. I have 2 other siblings. I felt like my parents
save the best for last. They couldn't get it right on the first two. So they had me, and I definitely defied all of the odds. Went to college, Division I track athlete, and all of these different things, not to toot my own horn. But I say this because I had everything and all of these opportunities in front of me. I interned with NASA in Houston, Texas. I interned with the USDA in Colorado, BMW in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And then one of the amazing best opportunities that I could even imagine is that I got the chance to study abroad in Ghana, in Accra, Ghana, for a few months. And it was really the moment and the opportunity that changed my life to be able to do the work that I'm doing today. But preparing for my senior year, it was always my dream for years to be able to get accepted to go work in the Peace Corps. Going to Ghana really solidified that to me. I wanted to live a life of service. I had offers from Northrop Grumman and Boeing. Amazon wasn't around at the time, so they couldn't get me like that. And I wanted to be able to not be the college student that just did it for the money. So I accepted the role with the Peace Corps. But then I recognized that I had a son on the way. I had a conversation with both of my parents. And like most of us, we're influenced and we do different things. So I didn't chase that dream at that point. I took the safe route. I went to work with Johnson & Johnson, Janssen Biotech, pharmaceutical rep, 6-figure salary, company car, corporate card, the role that did everything for me. Made my parents proud. But 8 months into this role, mind you, 8 months out of college graduation, my manager called. I was doing a great job. He called me. I was living in Gwinnett County at the time. He called me to meet me at a meeting in downtown Atlanta. So I drove roughly 45 minutes, music up, no worry in the world. I walk in. My manager isn't there. He's on a screen. There were 2 other men that had name tags on that I had never had the opportunity to meet. And I feel like if anybody's been in a situation like this before, you kind of know where this story is going. So we make small talk. How's the family? How's your weekend? You know, I'm in my early 20s, so I'm just shooting the stuff. And about 7 minutes in.
Hey, it's Kyle. Sorry to interrupt your programming, but I got a quick culture check for you. How's your team's energy right now? I mean, literally, right now. Are people feeling inspired? Or are they just showing up? See, here's the truth. Culture doesn't change because we talk about it. It changes because we live it actively every single day. And that's what I help organizations do. Build contagious cultures that people actually want to be a part of. Through keynote talks, interactive trainings, and hands-on consulting, I help leaders transform the way their teams connect, perform, and grow. So if your culture needs a little bit of spark, let's light it up together. Visit theculturelab.org, again, theculturelab.org, or connect with me directly on LinkedIn at Kyle S. King to learn more about how we can work together. Because remember, your culture is contagious. Make it worth catching. Now let's get back to the program.
I got the picture. 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes in, I'm like, oh man, I went numb for a second. I'm being fired. 8 months out of college, the car gone, salary done, the title, the future I traded this dream for, gone because of one decision, my friends. For months, I'd used the company card for things that were personal, not professional. And the detail that I've never forgotten is that on the very day that I was fired, I was wearing a $1,000 suit that I used company expenses for. So the moments and the drive home, 45 minutes in the back seat like a child, them driving me home to take this car back to my parents' house, took the keys, took my phone, took my laptop. I signed a paper to a stranger, looked back at me, said, hope everything is good for you. Have a great rest of your day. The level of embarrassment and dignity, the level of pain that I felt in that moment, I recognized that I had to begin to build a different life on. Because in that moment, I stopped focusing on what I lost. And it took time. It took roughly months and years to really be able to build back what I believed that I lost in that moment, and started building something that will always remain. 60 days later after that, I wrote a book called The Mission Plan, The Decision. We sold 1,000 copies in 30 days. That allowed me to be able to transition to Charlotte, North Carolina, where the second book and the third book and the fourth book get into schools, build a physical, actual school, a center outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, and one opportunity and one chance, one belief, one relationship, one thing led to another. And years later, 8 books, 1 company sold, travel all over the world, and have been able to really build something, have impacted thousands of people around the world. I would say that that was probably the best decision that ever happened. Now, I shouldn't have been spending company money, y'all. This is not like that speech. So if you are that person, this ain't the space for y'all. But what I recognize...
Expenses monthly. Please, nobody do that. Okay? Don't listen to Kyle. Okay.
Don't be that person. But what I recognize is that I thought because I had the title and I thought because I had the accolades that that's what was leadership. But I would define leadership by 2 things. Leadership equals character. It's not title. Leadership is showing up when you said you would, doing what you promised without anyone checking, bringing calm when the room is panicking, bringing energy when everyone else is bringing excuses. It's influence, not authority, influence. And then number 2, in my opinion, leadership is not like what you build. It's not about results all the time. It's about who you become while you are building it. Titles in any organization can be given, but titles can also be taken away. And I learned that markets will always change. Budgets will always vanish in some type of way. Access sometimes disappears, but character remains, my friends. Character is who you are when the lights go out and no one is watching. That is the foundation that we have to begin to build this team, this organization, and our individual lives personally or professionally on. You just had the best professional year of your career. What happened? In June 2027, what happened? What did you become known for? And who did you help grow?
Hey everyone, it's Carter King. If you're an educator, a leader, or just a parent who wants to teach kids about space, check out my newest book, Carter's Journey Through Space. It's available now on Amazon, Target, and bookstores everywhere. Come explore the universe.
The first step in anything is you have to be a constant learner. I know it's one of Amazon's principles. I don't know the specific principle, but it's always about learning. And I believe it's the same thing here. And the reason that I wanted to be able to put the vision statement first is because now the question in the L of learn constantly is, what is the thing I need to learn this season and who could teach me? In order to achieve that goal at the end of the year, 2027, what do I need to be learning right now? What books do I need to be reading? What workshops do I need to be attending? What if I want to be able to deliver more high quality workshops, et cetera, then I need to be learning from people that are doing that at a high level, either inside Amazon or outside Amazon. What are the things that I'm learning? What podcasts am I listening to? So when I think about it, who is coaching, mentoring, or someone who will tell me the truth on what I need to be learning? And here's the challenge, even with the vision exercise. Just by a quick raise of hands, how many of us have actually thought about June 2027 in our professional career? Okay, so some of us. The challenge is that we show up every day, we work our behinds off. We put in 40, 50, sometimes 60 hours a week, and we don't even know where we're going. So this allows us, people, to be intentional with, and now if we go to management, look, Maggie, this is the vision that I have for my professional career in a year. This is what I want to achieve. This is what I want to happen. This is who I want to help. And this is how I want to contribute. As my direct manager, how do you believe we can work together so that I can achieve these things? That's leadership. That's self-advocacy. Because what I will say, none of the opportunities that I've received have just been given. You have to go take the things that you want in life. You have to go get it. So learn constantly. What do I need to be learning? In anything in life, we move to the E. I believe that relationships are the breadcrumbs to your destiny. Relationships are the breadcrumbs to your destiny. Opportunities rarely travel through applications, people. They travel through people. And nowadays with AI and all of these things, you can't just apply it for something anymore. You have to be able to be in the room with someone that can advocate for you when you're not even in the room, before the position is even thought of, before the opportunity is even thought of. So when I look at this, who are the relationships that I need so that I can be able to accomplish my 2027 vision? Because some people that you go to lunch with, they may be great people, but they can't help you, baby. They can't help you. They may be great people to get drinks with and go to happy hour with and just connect about work. But this is a work environment. And if we're here to grow, learn, engage, and transform, then we have to build relationships with people maybe that don't share the same personality, maybe aren't an A personality or share the same zodiac sign, but people that can really be able to iron sharpen iron and allow us to get where we need to go. How can we grow? How can we impact? How can we transform more deeply? Number +1. Thanks, James. I appreciate you, my friend. So who are the people that you need? Dan Sullivan, if you're a reader, wrote an amazing book, one of my favorite books, Who Not How. Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy. And it was this concept of oftentimes we always think about how do I do something, or how do I get this, or how do I increase my income, or how do I network better, or how do I do this? And the concept of the book is who is a person that's already doing that can then be able to accelerate your learning curve. So who is the who that can fill the gap that you currently have within your personal or professional career? And then I need you to identify that person. Then we go to the A. We got to add value. This is the challenging, because it can get spicy as we talk about this, but I see we only got about 10 minutes left, so I don't want to spend too much time on this one. But look, if you're not adding value, it may be time to just get a different job. And y'all didn't bring me on here to just say the politically correct thing. We are here to add value. That is why we get paid. That is why y'all get bonuses. And, I work in the nonprofit and educational space. Some of the perks that y'all have in your lane, you have them because you got to add value. So how are you adding value to your team this week? How are you adding value to the conversation? Because just showing up to meetings and just sitting there and listening and taking notes and leaving to get to the next thing, that's not adding value. What is one problem that you can solve this week that nobody asked you to solve? That's the question that I want you to think about and write down. What is the problem, the one problem I can solve this week that no one asked me to solve? And I love what McGee said earlier, solving problems. That's the thing that he does, solves problems. I love that. How are we solving problems? Because just imagine this, guys and gals. Imagine if Maggie starts solving problems for Tara, and Tara starts solving problems for Mark, and Mark starts solving problems for Jessica, and Jessica starts solving problems for Kenny, and Kenny start solving problems for Stephanie. And then we're all solving these problems. That is how we grow our infrastructure and our teams and our culture and all of these different things. And then we move to the D, developing others. I believe that service is the best form of leadership. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine that I just got an opportunity to work as a marketing director at this firm that I consult with. And she was like, I just appreciate it. Wins continue to keep coming to you. And I was like, look, I believe that I continue to win because I put other people on and allow them to win. Your best way of winning and growing your career is allowing other people to win on behalf of you. Because I'm going to tell you this, it feels good to know that I got somebody hired. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know what it is. It just makes me feel good to know that I helped someone else. Or you're now doing this because of an advice that I gave you. Or now you're connected to these two people because of a relationship that I built. It just makes me feel happy that I was able to plant a seed that then there was a harvest in some form of a place. So number 4 question for the D is, who is one person I can pour into? And what's the first step that you can take this week? And this person may not even be on your team. This is what contagious culture looks like, people. I've been to your building many, many times. And a friend of mine years ago said this. He's a missionary. He said when he started his missionary work, his goal was to witness to one person every single day, just every day. Is it too much to ask you all Amazonians to just encourage someone every day? To maybe just give someone a compliment every day? To just give someone maybe a piece of advice every day, or to affirm someone once a day? Like, is that too much to ask? Because that is the type of things, and those small moments continue to keep people believing that they matter, that they're valued, that they're seen. And with the state of our country right now with mental health, I can guarantee if you just affirm people, love on people, say thank you to people, I can almost guarantee that's going to change their lives and make them feel like they're a part of something bigger. So I want to land the plane here and let you recognize that, look, in order for us to be better, in order for us to, in the midst of this environment, in order for us to show up better and lead, we have to learn constantly. We have to expand these relationships. We have to add value on a day-to-day basis, and we have to commit to developing others. And I want you to get out of the mindset to stop asking what's next for your career and start asking what you're becoming and who you're becoming. Because careers are not built by circumstance. Success is not built by circumstance. They're built by character. They're built by consistency. They're built by curiosity. And they're built by the people that we lift as we're continuing to climb together. So I appreciate the time. I appreciate the engagement of all of my Amazonians. I wish I was there with all of you, but I know you're all over the world. And Sarah, your energy has been unmatched. I don't know if earlier you were listening to like music when you were like nodding your head or just vibing with the person talking, but like we got to connect in the future somewhere. But again, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to share, to speak. I can share the full slide deck if you guys need it. And as always, I'm always here for a resource, however you guys need me in the future. So if there's any questions, I'm here. But that's my time, y'all.
Thanks for tuning in to the Contagious Culture Podcast. If this episode challenged or inspired you, hey, take a second to share it with someone who's building culture in their world. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more leaders, educators, and change makers just like yourself join the movement. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or YouTube at Kyle S. King for more tips, tools, and methodologies to be able to help you create this ecosystem of absolute excellence. Until next time, lead boldly, live intentionally, and remember, your culture is contagious. Make it worth catching.